You should never invest in a creative solution with the hope that it's gonna be better tomorrow, that it's somehow gonna get better over time to solve all the problems you have today. That being said, it is refreshing when a brand is actively confronting technological obsolescence. When I first reviewed the Leica SL3, what stood out most was the commitment to great design, the nearly unmatched durability in the field, and the incredible optics that plug into the Leica image pipeline. It's this unique offering that catered to photographers that cared as much about as the photographic experience as they did about image quality. However, while I appreciated what the Leica SL3 brought to my workflow, if megapixels weren't a part of the core deliverables, if they weren't part of the story, I just reached for a different camera. And I think a lot of people in the Leica community can understand this sentiment. But that changed. 2 years in, the Leica SL3 has matured drastically, so much so that it changed its market position. In fact, it changed so much that I'm dedicating an entire video around it. You see, every video, reel, review, article about this camera that was published before 2026 is practically useless, and that's because of one thing: firmware. The Leica engineers, they included 3 brilliant components, and that's why we're having this conversation today. It's the CF Express card slot, it's double the memory buffer of its predecessor, and it's the Maestro 4 processor. These pieces, they created this really high ceiling for this camera to evolve over time. And if I'm being honest, it didn't take much time at all. The Leica SL3 now powers on in under 2 seconds. The autofocus algorithm has seen a jump in performance that didn't seem possible. There's built-in Frame IO support for wireless uploads, a new multi-shot mode that opens the door for 240 megapixel images when you need a great reference. ProRes recording in Cinema 6K resolution is now unlocked, alongside an anamorphic D-squeeze option in video mode. With the new Leica looks and refinements to the UI, it's a substantial improvement over what the SL3 once was. Outside of the multi-shot mode, these are all features that myself and many others have been asking for, and things that we brought up in multiple conversations. The fact that it all arrived well in the first half of this product's life cycle isn't just good, it's unheard of. And it really makes you wonder why more brands don't operate like this in the imaging space. Now, I should stress, these individual updates, these individual upgrades, they don't all of a sudden make this camera a must-buy for people. No, think of this as strategic free agent signings, bringing in these smaller auxiliary benefits that come together to really accentuate and strengthen the core of what this solution is. Their significance comes from how they contribute to the overall solution. Before we continue, I should mention that this story first appeared on my newsletter a few months ago. So if you're enjoying this and you want to hear more of my photography adventures around the world as they're happening, check out the Church Street Foto Club. It's free to join. I share about 25 stories a year, and it's also the place where I talk about all the upcoming events and workshops. I have a workshop in London happening in a few weeks. It's video for photographers. So if you know how to take a photo, but you've been wanting to learn how to get into video, how to edit video, this workshop is for you. Again, it's the Church Street Foto Club. It's where I share all my photography adventures as soon as they happen. 2 years in, the image quality of the Leica SL3 remains its greatest core strength. The way that resolution, dynamic range, and optics all come together to create incredible visuals is really what sets this camera apart from a lot of its competitors. They take that 14-bit RAW file and just pack so much information that whether I was in the Arctic and there were these blinding highlights, or in Nagaland where there was these deep textured shadows, I could count on this camera just packing in a ton of detail into these RAW files. Like a Division 1 recruit, the SL3 easily slots into that upper tier of mirrorless cameras. You can pull details out of shadows and hold on to highlights in a manner that rivals digital medium format solutions. When I was in the Arctic Circle, the sun never set, but the conditions were changing constantly. It didn't matter. The files were incredibly rich and could be pushed to these thematic extremes. I've comfortably pushed this camera to ISO 3200 and the colors still remain honest. When you consider that the base ISO starts at ISO 64, that's a generous amount of latitude to capture and create stories and create these striking visuals that can stand the test of time. And if you plan on adapting and using M-glass primarily on this body, there's an easy argument to be made that this is a solution that you can use for a decade or more. That might sound absurd until you consider the second core strength of this camera, which is durability. This camera, with its IP54 rating and beefy housing, was designed to work on just about any condition on Earth. It wasn't enough that it could perform in air-conditioned studios and courageous walks down New York streets. No, it had to work everywhere. Whether it was these frosty situations on the Zodiac in the Antarctic, or these heat wave-like conditions near the equator, or the variability I would experience on the Indo-Myanmar border, this camera would just perform. And I wish I didn't have to dedicate a few paragraphs to this subject in 2026, but the reality is that there's many flagship solutions on the market where durability just doesn't hit those high marks. When you take those recent firmware updates and you pair it to this kind of durability, it just widens the gamut in which you can use this camera to tell and share your story. Then there's the design of this camera, right? Both the physical design and the UI, those elegant lines, those intentional use of buttons, keeping things to an absolute minimum, the essentials really, and reducing the labels. It's a core strength, and it's something that I shared many times before. When something looks good and feels good, it makes you want to use it, and that's a feature. On that note, let's talk about this sort of evolution in design. The reporter line occupies a distinct space in the Leica narrative, serving as a functional tribute to the brand's deep-rooted history in photojournalism. While standard models are often celebrated for their elegance, the Reporter series is built like this rugged tool, emphasizing discretion and resilience over aesthetic polish. This philosophy is realized in the Leica SL3 Reporter with its matte, scratch-resistant green paint and aramid fiber trim. This aramid material, it's the same type of synthetics that are used in ballistic protection, right? Essentially making this wrap tear-proof in the field. True to its field-oriented sort of inspiration, there's no red dot on this camera, just contributing to that inconspicuous look in many ways. Over years of use, this paint and this trim, they're gonna wear over time, they're gonna change, they're gonna develop a patina. Anecdotally speaking, I feel like most people are not a fan of this. You know, personally, I love this kind of stuff. I love when a camera, it shows its age, and really it shows you that it's seen some crazy shit. The SL3 Reporter is an alternative to the sleek and stylish SL3. It keeps the same internal performance, but its housing makes it clear that it's a tool designed for photographers who find themselves in the mud, find themselves in the chaos, and perhaps most accurately, find themselves in the thick of the story. Now, that's a lot of praise for this camera, and rightfully so. It's come a long way. I've shared 6 updates to this camera. Let me now share with you 6 improvements I'd like to see in the coming months and years. First is on-screen display support. Being able to use the HDMI port to transmit the menu, the UI, to a secondary display for in-field monitoring, for education, and for marketing, I think it's about time that we see this feature in the Leica SL ecosystem. Other brands have nailed this feature, and I'd love to see Leica take a crack at it, and it is this sort of manual focus confirmation beyond just focus peaking. Being able to use an M lens and pull focus and seeing eyes and face get a visual confirmation that they're in focus, and perhaps even capture the image when they are in focus, I think that would be such a headline feature. I think it's something that would genuinely have Leica users tingling between the legs. We've seen no slowdown of Leica looks being available to Maestro 4 cameras. There's a bunch of them that are available through the Leica Photos app. And with a recent update, you can even control the strength of them when they're applied to a JPEG file. I'd love to take this a step further. I love the ability for us to control the highlights, shadows, contrast, sharpness, and even grain structure around these Leica looks, effectively being able to create these very robust profiles in camera so that, we can not only create a unique frame in the moment, relegating, editing for the times we really need it. I think it creates a bit of this culture around crafting unique looks and sharing that with the community. I'd love to see that finally arrive on this platform. And while no means is this a video-first camera, I would still love to see some video-centric updates. The things that I would love to see are false color support, slower frame rate options, and the ability to independently control your timeline frame rate from the frame rate that you're recording. These three things, if they find a way to include this in a future update, I think it fundamentally changes for the better how you can capture, create, and share video-based stories on the SL platform. And look, I know that most of you watching are not video-first people and you're more photographers, especially when you're coming to an SL3 video. But I think it's just one of these things that these updates kind of raises all the boats, so to speak. All right, let me wrap up this video by saying the Leica SL3 isn't what it used to be. It's much better. Over the course of 2 years, this camera has become a testament to a brand that actually listens to its core audience. In 2026, the SL3 feels significantly more capable than it did on day one. Sports and wildlife are the two distinct areas where this camera just can't hit those high marks. I've had some success, but they're few and far in between. But in just about every other photographic environment, this camera not only performs, it excels while feeling great to use. If you're a high output creative who's obsessive about the experience around your process and resolution is critical to your deliverables, the Leica SL3 should be on your shortlist. It's the solution that convinced me to offload my digital medium format cameras and embrace a body that could thrive in any environment. To know precisely if this camera is for you, you really gotta know what you shoot, how you shoot, and how often you shoot. And if you can answer those questions honestly and it leads you to an SL3, what I'll say is that you can rest easy knowing that you have an incredibly capable solution that'll grow alongside your creative vision. There you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Leica SL3. I guess this is sort of a re-review, right? And it's justified because when you have this many substantial updates, it really changes how a camera can be used, where it can be used, and how often you can call upon it to execute your creative vision. So with these updates, I felt compelled to revisit this camera and share it with you. I'd love to hear what you think. Is this something that you're compelled to use in more places or something you're finally considering adding to your collection? I'd love to continue the conversation in the comments down below. As always, my name's Gajan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.